Welcome to Board Game Binge, the place where we bring you bite-sized, bingeable board game content from across the industry. I'm your host, James Staley, and in this episode, we're welcoming back Dan Blacklock, founder of Cloud Puncher Games, famously known for raising $1.3 million across their BoxThrone and Token Sesame Kickstarter projects. Their newest innovation, LAX RAX, turns any KALLAX shelf into a flat storage system for board games. It's currently on Kickstarter. Dan, welcome back to the binge. How are you, my friend?
Good. Thanks for having me, James. Great to be back. Yeah.
It is awesome to have you back. As a fellow Canadian, I'm always happy to talk to fellow Canucks, and
Nice.
especially one that is on the other side of the planet. I think it's important to note to our listeners that the reason why this is kind of an unscheduled time, we're doing it in the morning instead of typically in the evening, is to make sure that we can catch you, vibrant and ability to talk instead of doing it kind of in the wee hours of the morning. So I thank you very much for your time. I know it's been pretty hectic, hasn't it?
Yeah. Still in China, still prototyping all the different products and stuff like that. It's difficult to travel around right now. So if I left, I wouldn't be able to come back. So just stay here and try and get all the products down.
So for just as a little quick housekeeping for people that are listening, we actually interviewed Dan. I believe it was episode 22. So if you go through our YouTube channel or if you go through the podcast audio version, scroll down to episode 22, you'll get the whole back history of Dan and where he came from, but kind of the Coles notes of Cloud Puncher Games. Maybe you can give that to our listeners.
Yeah, totally. We got started by creating the BoxThrone, which is a modular shelving system specifically for board games. It's like all made out of stainless steel. It's kind of like a luxury furniture item. It's like a higher price point, but it's built to last and lets you store every game flat. So we kind of got started with that. And then last year we made Token Sesame, which is also modular. It's like a token bit holder slash like rolling tray, and it's got like designer art plates on it and all this kind of stuff. And we've made a few different products, and I think we've advertised for some of them, and then one of them we had to like cancel and like redo. So like now our current project is LAX RAX, which as James said, lets you turn your KALLAX into a horizontal, I guess, storage array for games. So every game gets its own shelf, kind of like the BoxThrone. Because we had a lot of people who already had KALLAXes or the Walmart cube shelves, and they're like, "Oh, I already have a storage system." Like, even you got a KALLAX right behind you, right? So so for those people, they're like, "Oh, we don't want to get a whole new storage system for BoxThrone." So we were always kind of like working on it, tinkering it away a little bit. And then we saw some other people working on the same things, and so we were like, "Oh, okay, we should probably just get this out as fast as we could." So we just worked together a video and. We were working on it since February, like for the iterations of it. And we went through like so many different iterations of it. Just all part of the product design process. But at one point we were making it a lot more expensive, and we wanted the whole thing to be fully plastic and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Or at one point we were thinking of doing metal and wire and all this kind of stuff. And then we just kind of realized that like if you're gonna be buying like an IKEA shelf, like you probably, for example, like if you're already into IKEA stuff, so you probably don't want to buy like a designer product that might be like cost more than the IKEA shelf itself.
Yeah.
So we want to make it affordable for people. So we were like, okay, let's try and get the price down to like $2 per shelf. So that's basically what we did. So we made it so like you can kind of like reinvent, you can upgrade your entire KALLAX for less than the price you pay for the KALLAX, which is actually kind of just what we do.
That's awesome. So just really quickly, why is it important for people to store their games horizontally? Why is that an issue?
Yeah, I think that the main issue, I have personally, and a lot of people that I talk to, is that when you store board games sideways, and then you take kind of like one of the supporting games out, the lids will drift off a little bit. And if you do that, sometimes like, stuff will fall out of its holders, or like some of the bags will slip down. Then like you got to like either take the box lid off and like put it back together and put it back on. And so it's just very annoying. Or sometimes you get lazy and just kind of like stuff it down a little bit. And so like, especially games that like have a lot of cards as well. Like something, for example, like
Dominion.
Like Smash Up Big Box, for example, where it's like all the you have hundreds of decks like on their sides. Like you store that thing on its side, like it's just a nightmare, right? So like most board games, when designers are designing like a storage kind of pits, like they are designed for horizontal storage. It's like why all the artwork is horizontal, right? Like if you look at the games behind you, like not one of those are vertical.
Right.
I know some people will have like an alternate art, but it's pretty rare. So not only does it look better if you're doing it, and the stuff kind of gets stored in easier. But like the problem as well is that like if you're just storing sideways in a normal KALLAX shelf, you're like stacking the games, right? Mm-hmm. So you're like, if you want to get the one off the bottom, you got to pull it out, and then you got to wiggle it out, and you're getting sweaty before the games even begin, right?
Scuffing the box and things like this too, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's just annoying. And sometimes if you've got like I forget what it's called, but like there's a certain like matte texture that comes in some board games.
Yep.
And that can get like scratched off. So you're like wiggling around and stuff like that.
Yeah, like the linen finishes and things like that, right?
Yeah. So like we wanted to make it so like it was like you could take games off faster. Also, like if you take one on the bottom, you're gonna get like that landslide. It falls down. And
I know for me, I've got two games that the one is consistently I'm having to repack, and that's Battle Sheep, because it's got all these little plastic tokens that have some pretty good weight to them. And although the box organizer is great, so everything is in its place, as you said, when you get a little bit of that lid drift, right, when it's on the shelf, if there's nothing beside it to kind of keep it nice and tightly packed, those pieces go everywhere, right? And then it's a mess when you have to clean it up. And then sometimes the box won't even close properly because you've got pieces that have kind of slid out. The other one I have is Dominion. We just recently got Dominion. And again, beautiful organizer inside the box to organize all the cards. But my biggest fear is when I go to play that game next, I'm going to open that lid and the cards are going to be everywhere, right? So, and it takes you a good like 20 minutes to organize all those cards. So I can see the value in doing this. So in China, what is like, so you're like in an industrial park, or like I know we talked a little bit about this on the last time we had you on the podcast, but maybe just explain a little bit about why you're there and organizing things from there versus here.
Yeah, it's like I live in Guangdong. I used to live in Shenzhen. I live about an hour away from Shenzhen now. So like that's kind of a like tech / factory kind of hub. Mm-hmm. I think Panda Games Manufacturing does their stuff there. But there's a lot of just like general plastic factories and all this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
In the whole province, like it's all over the province. Even just being in China generally, it's like it only takes a day to get something shipped to you, mailed to you, right? It's like next day delivery for everything, basically.
Yeah.
So like the thing is like I do a lot of prototyping for like new products, new ideas, stuff like that. So like I don't have a 3D printer here. Like at the quality I want one of like the really high level resin ones. So like there's someone in Shenzhen who can do it for like a couple bucks. You just pay him a couple bucks, and the next day he'll ship you a fully 3D printed, like resin printed,
that's cool,
really high quality, polished as well. So like you can get like prototypes and stuff really quick. So like and then like all the different product ideas, maybe I have a product idea and I don't know if it's going to work well, so I need to go get it tested. I can like get 5 different samples in 5 days and then like redo it. Like we've launched products like very, very quickly, I think, overall. We got so many more coming. It's crazy. Like it's almost like too many for Kickstarter. Like even like in the LAX RAX campaign right now, I made these little gravity grip stickers, like the play count trackers, dry erase. And you put them on your board game, and then like you can track how many plays you've done, right? So you don't have to open a Board Game Geek and like track it in there or have some digital spreadsheet. It's a fun way to kind of like show everyone, like, we played Dominion, 40 times, something like that. Okay, it's gonna be 41. It's just like a fun tactile way to track how many times you played games.
Yeah.
But like that alone, it's like because most of the campaigns focus on Lax Racks, it's kind of like buried down there, right? And a lot of people really like them. So I'm like thinking like, oh man, maybe we should do like another campaign for those and then release more of those and stuff like that. So like, that was going to be a separate campaign at one point. We were just kind of like wedged them together to release a whole bunch of different stuff. Like if it was me, like I'd go full style and do like 10 campaigns in a year.
Yeah. Well, I was just showing people really while you're talking there, your last campaign, which is Token Sesame. And the reason I showed it is that it's an example to me of how good you are at finding solutions to basic problems, right? So the token Sesame, which is your last campaign, which again did incredibly well, 400,000 on Kickstarter, congratulations. But you took a very simple concept, right? So kind of like you're talking about these static, these clings that stick to the box. You have people saying, gosh, although I can, put my pieces all over the table, there can be a better way to do that where you have, organizers to keep all your pieces and things clean on the table, or you had stackable trays so that if somebody wanted to, keep their stuff kind of under the board, right? There's all these different options to kind of organize the pieces. And then here you come with yet another solution on the horizontal storage, but at the same time, you're tagging into there and saying, well, there's another kind of problem I want to solve, which is how does somebody keep track of how many times they played a game, right? If they have a certain rotation, they want to go through and say, okay, I'm going to play this game. Now I'm going to play this other one I haven't played in a while. Without actually creating a scoreboard, you can actually put these things right on the boxes, and with a dry erase marker, you can mark how many times you played the game. It's another solution you're solving, and you're just kind of tagging it on this current campaign, which I think is awesome.
Yeah, no, it's kind of packing it together. Those stickers also don't use any glue, right? Because I know people aren't going to want real stickers on their game. So it's it's zero glue. It's just uses silicone and has a gravity grip. So you just take it off, put it on really easy, no mark, no nothing. So it's I was oh wow, man, the timing of all the projects. We've got other projects and stuff coming. So I'm just oh, we'll put these two together, but. Yeah, who knows?
So is that kind of through necessity because your innovation, and I'm just scrolling down for people watching too, I'll find the picture of this, where it's just you've got so much innovations coming that you just said, you know what, I'm going to start kind of pairing some of this stuff up just so that I can kind of get it out, or is that kind of the thinking behind that? Or?
I mean, we were prototyping for LAX RAX and another project in the future at the same time. Well, actually for Finger Destiny, that I guess we can cover later, in the future, we will have a dry erase kind of circle. It's it looks kind of like a shield that you put the Finger Destiny on. Then you can also dry erase different sections and write, for I guess anyone who doesn't know, the Finger Destiny is a product that we were going to launch. That it's a randomizer, it's a Finger of God kind of style thing,
sure.
Monty Python style. And you spin it and you pick someone random on the table for first player or whatever. And so one of the things we were going to provide was a dry erase board that has the different sections you can do. You can write it on. And so I was making that, and I did get that made. I was this dry erase stuff's pretty fun. I'm going to make something else. And then so I just kind of did that. At the same time, we're doing LAX RAX as well. I'm just is this significant enough to do our own campaign?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I'm just going to put it in as an add-on. But now it's I see at least half of the backers have added that.
That's cool.
So I was oh man, I've had people been oh, can I just buy things and LAX RAX stuff like that? So
and then you got these stands as well, right? I know we're kind of going in reverse order. Yeah. We will get into the guts of LAX RAX, but you've even got these acrylic stands that you say, well, what if somebody wants to, instead of just leave their games flat on top of their shelves, why don't we create a stand so that they can kind of display them? So
yeah, it's I just see a lot of people's board game collection photos, COMC, comment on my collection posts on Reddit and stuff like that. And it's almost all the people who have Twilight Imperium or these oversized boxes, it's they'll just put it on top. And then you end up putting the next on top and you just have 7 on top. And it's it just doesn't look great. Yeah. So it would be nicer if you could kind of make it into a bit more of a display. And so there were other stands out, but they were not strong enough because something like Twilight Imperium is super heavy, right? And I want this stand to last a long time. So just made super thick acrylic so that I can handle basically any way to board game, even Gloomhaven. I think in some of the photos it actually has Gloomhaven on it. Yeah. So it's just you can turn your whole system into more of a display. And so that was actually, we added that to the BoxThrone store last year. That we didn't have it on the box on Kickstarter, but because we didn't put on Kickstarter, I was just man, I need to give people an opportunity to get this. I don't think anyone's seen this before. So put it on there as well. So
let's talk about LAX RAX. That's kind of the big guy you're working on right now. Obviously, these add-ons we're just talking about are part of that. So people, if they're interested in those, they can actually add them on to their campaign. But my gosh, here's yet another campaign that you've done where you're crushing it, right? So 225,000 on this so far. 1,741 backers, still got 22 days to go, I guess. And this concept is really cool. So walk us through how this actually works. Because as I was kind of watching through, you've got kind of these wood dowels, and people are watching this interview live or in the replay. They'll be able to see the actual videos of this, or quite frankly, just go to the Kickstarter page and check it out there. Link will be in the show notes. But you got this doweling that basically attaches to the inside of your KALLAX shelves, right? Which then allows the games to kind of sit on top of those. How did you kind of work out the engineering behind this? Because it's very clever. The mechanism. So, right? And we'll use descriptive language because not everybody is watching. Some are listening to, right?
Oh, okay, got it. Okay. Yeah, fair enough. So yeah, I'm holding in my hand two of the kind of like the older prototypes, just to kind of show how it would work. So basically, these Lax Racks grips, we call them. They're basically like little plastic, I'll call them rod holders.
Yep.
They have 3 different areas where you can place 2 rods on it. And basically, all you need to do is like you're going to stick them to the sides of the KALLAX. But you might ask, oh, how do I get that perfectly aligned? I'm not going to be able to align it to be perfectly straight, and it's going to be at an angle and all that kind of stuff. Well, I would answer you by saying we have a little slot system in here that has, so like each piece has a little plastic tab on it.
Yep. And
you insert that tab into the slot system, and then you just put it flat on a board game. So you've got a game sitting in your KALLAX, and you just put this flat on it, like that, and then you just peel the back off it and slide it into the side. And you just repeat that on all 4 sides, all 4 corners of the board game. And then you've got a perfectly level shelf. And I think we have like a clip of there of like someone putting a marble on the acrylic and stuff like that to show how level it is. So it's very easy to line it up.
So I want to just dive into this a little bit because I think this thing is brilliant. Yeah. Have you like applied for utility patents on this at all or anything like that? Or
a design patent.
Yeah.
So yeah. All my stuff is like design patents on it. It's like the utility patent is like a lot more complicated.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard to get that one.
So for the people who are listening, so you got this little square, right? And I think it's probably like 2 inches by 2 inches maybe. And it's got these different little slots that you can put the doweling as explained, and you're going to have 4 of them. So that's going to hold basically 2 sets of rods, which basically creates your shelf. Yeah. But this is the smart thing is there's these little slots. So you use one of these little squares will actually slide into another one of these little squares temporarily so that you can line it up perfectly square with the box that's underneath this shelf, right? So if you build from bottom going upwards, all your games are going to line up absolutely perfectly and quickly. So you peel this kind of thing off the back. It's like a classic 3M type adhesive that you can then pull off afterwards if you want to change it up and things like that. But slides onto the shelf. So literally instead of having to get out all these rulers and everything to measure, you can click this thing together very, very rapidly. I don't know if you run any kind of time test at all, but it seems like a couple minutes maybe per shelf max to kind of install this. Is that fair? Or?
I mean, faster than a couple minutes, I think. And not only that, James, is that we also have 3 slots on here. So you can choose how many millimeters of space you want between your games, because maybe you want to make it super tight fit, super space efficient, and have the rods kind of like leaning on each other.
Yeah.
Or maybe you want to make it 1 millimeter space or 2 millimeter space apart. So maybe you want to have 2 millimeter space so that you don't have anything like rubbing on the top of it when you slide it out.
Yeah.
Or 1 millimeter space. It's compromise between the 2.
It's cool when people look at the actual site, and I've got a picture on screen here. It's seamless, right? Like you can snug these shelves up so well that you don't even see the shelves. Your games are just floating in that hole, right? Which I think is super cool.
Yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to do too. Like instead of making an actual physical giant shelf that you could see, we have it. Yeah, it looks a little bit floating. In a lot of the photos, we kind of like brought the rods to the front so you can see them more.
Yeah.
In the photos, but when you set up yourself, like you can choose how far in you want the rods to go. So you can put it in, like a third or a quarter of the way, and then you're only going to see them like when you're looking at it at eye level, right? So then it has a bit more of a floating effect and stuff like that.
It's
So,
super cool.
yeah.
And then the doweling, I saw on your page there that I guess a lot of the doweling that's used in the marketplace, like in craft stores and so forth, is made of bamboo. You're using birchwood, I guess, and you're using the birchwood
Yeah.
from kind of the strongest part of the tree. Is that to kind of prevent warping and things like that, or what's the intent behind that?
Yeah, exactly. Like the bamboo rods, yeah, it's like they're just not as strong, right?
Yeah.
It's like they're very cheap, but they're not strong. So we voted for like the more expensive option. So yeah, so it wouldn't warp as much as the other ones. It would be stronger. Choose the ones from the strongest part of the tree as well.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's the middle or the outside of the tree, but basically it's like if you got 1,000 dowels, it's like some of them will pass like basically like a strength test and some of them won't.
Yeah.
And so we just use the strongest ones of those. And so yeah, and like the way the system actually set up is that the weight isn't resting on the wooden rods themselves. Because if you do that for too long, like
it's the clips on the side that are bearing the weight, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. So like the fit is so tight that the weight is actually dispersed sideways, outwards towards the walls of KALLAX.
Yeah.
So in that way, like when you put a game on there, it's like the weight isn't on the rods as much as it would otherwise.
And the other cool thing too is once you have these clips in, there's also acrylic shelves that people can get. So if they want to like display their minis or whatever elements of their games that they want to display, you got this separate kind of, I guess, acrylic shelf that can go in instead of the doweling that will fit on those same clips, right?
Yeah, you can use them with the wooden rods in there as well, or without. So like whatever you want to do. It's just like you can place that and then put the acrylic in, or like one of the things we wanted with the systems, they wanted it to be adaptable. That's why we kind of have that tagline, like adaptable board game shelving system. So like you can pop the rods out, you can put a bigger game in, you can change where the rods are. We got three different slots on there. We got like one on the top, one in the middle, and one at the bottom. So like you can, if you're just going to put in a slightly bigger or slightly smaller game, you can just like pop into a different hole. Or you want to use acrylic, you can take them out or use it with, it's just very adaptable. So, and then like if you really want to move it, you can start peeling it off by the tab at the bottom. But
when I was looking at your stats on your pledge levels, it looks like the second tier. So I think that's 24 shelves is what it works out to be. Seems to be where the largest number of pledges are. Again, there's pledges right across the whole spectrum. Was there any kind of research or any kind of data you had going in that kind of helped lead you into how many likely people would need when they order them? Like, is there kind of like an average number of games that the people typically have, or is it kind of like, let's do all levels and kind of see where it shakes out?
Yeah, I mean, like the levels are based on the sizes of the KALLAXs. So like there's the lowest one, the Rex Dabbler one, that is that will do a 2x2, the little one, or 4x1. Because it's only 12 shelves. Yes. And then the next one, the Rax Lord, that's going to make for like a 2x4 system. It lets you put 3 shelves per cube in there. I mean, you can put as many as you want. Maybe one fewer, maybe one more. But yeah, so like that would be for the 2x4, and then like the next one's like the Rax Empire, which is the 4x4, and then we just added the Rax Deity, which is like the 5x5 for it. Like if you look at like the total pledges on it, it's like by far most is like if you take Rax to the max and also Rax Empire, Rax Deity together. So it is like the bigger board game collections that are basically carrying it right now. So Rax to the max is like you get like you get like a variety of stuff. Like you get like a 4x4 KALLAX worth of regular shelves and a bunch of heavy duty shelves. Yeah, we have a heavy duty one too, where you put 4 rods in and stuff like that. As well as you get acrylics in there and all that kind of stuff. So,
and how did you come up with the name Lax Racks? Where'd that come from?
I thought that it was a bit like tongue in cheek. It sounds like it's like a laxative pill or something like that. So like I'm like, oh, it's really catchy and people might make fun of the name. And I thought if people make fun of the name, it'll stick in their heads. Yeah. So and also Lax is from KALLAX, right? Yeah. So like Lax Racks, and obviously it
rhymes. It's very short, easy to remember.
Yeah, exactly. I like things that rhyme. So yeah, like Lax Racks, and it's just like it's.
And then your social media, can we talk a little bit about this campaign? So going in, I know last time we talked, you mentioned how large of an email list you have. I'm sure it's even larger now, but you're in like the thousands, I guess, in terms of your email list, which, you know, gives you a certain level of weight when you're going into a new campaign in terms of communicating, especially you have an established fan base that you're communicating to, and then you have just the, you know, economies of scale. And then this time I see that you're using BackerKit to help you with your social media amplification. What was the decision to go with BackerKit?
I just feel like they're very consistent. I feel like they, like to do good Facebook ads, you need like a good data set, right?
Yeah.
So like their data set is huge because it's like all these board game campaigns have used them, and they have like a lot of backer emails. They don't like directly use the backer emails, right? But you can use them to create lookalike audiences with it, stuff like that. So, so they just have this huge database of board gamers, and so like anyone who advertises with them, like you can, they will use that database to kind of like give really relevant ads out. I just feel like they're very consistent.
It's certainly
it's just like fun to work with and stuff.
I think there's two things that I've experienced with them. One is that they're just very, very good at hitting their the social media targets, right, with Facebook ads, right? So they've been doing it now on many, many, many games per year. So they've got an established focus. So they know exactly how to get in and get those people very efficiently. And secondly, they have other tools, right? They have their own list of people that have, you know, every time you fill out your pledge manager, you have an opportunity to opt in to get further communications. That's a list that they can use now to further target on your behalf. So I know from my experience, I use them as well. On my last campaign, it was great.
Yeah.
Certainly, I know Chandler is a good person to dialogue with. Not only do they kind of take care of your campaign, but they're there as advisors as well, which is really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like if it's good enough for CMON, like Cool Mini or not, like they have like an exclusive agreement with BackerKit now, so if it's good enough for them, then I think it's good enough for most creators.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So how have you found, like, so you're in China, and we've just gone through, we're still not through it, but like this worst kind of global pandemic, I think, in recent history, has really impacted business as a whole. How's it impacted you on that end of the world? Have you seen it impact the factories there at all, or is it like
yeah, the price of pretty much everything has gone up. That side is real, especially like freight. I'm sure you've had other people talk about
freight,
it, but
it's been crazy.
Like the cost of ocean freight and shipping now is just ridiculous. It's like 8 times what it was before. You know, like it used to be $3,000 to ship a container from China to the US, and now it's $25,000. I've even heard people doing like 40,000.
Wow.
So the cost of all that stuff is expensive now. But yeah, in terms of like things that like China like recovered pretty quick from coronavirus, but the thing is that like they are a lot more like sensitive towards if there are cases, right? Whereas like other countries are okay being open, just wear a mask, or if you take time off, blah blah blah. Whereas like here, it's like if like there's one case, like they'll lock down the whole business, or like they'll lock down the street, and like no one go outside of the house, and so everyone's gonna get checks in 48 hours. So it can be more disruptive. But luckily like all the factories kind of like in rural areas. And rural areas in China, like I feel like they don't have a ton of coronavirus. Like even in like my city where I live in, it's not like it's like a tier 2 city. Like no one wears masks anymore. We haven't had a case in a long time.
Yeah.
Most of the cases in major cities are up north. Yeah, like down south is pretty safe too. So all my factories are down south. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it's been okay, I guess. Yeah, it's just the raw material prices and stuff.
And how did you adapt? So there's two things. So wood prices went through the roof recently, right? The summer. So you've got wood in your product. Was that something that you had planned going in, or is it something that hit you kind of after you'd already kind of had everything set up?
Yeah, like it was kind of like happening when we were designing it. And like I said, we had like different ideas of materials we want to use, right? Like, one point we're just going to use like cardboard and stuff.
Yeah.
But as we're going, it's like I felt like it was leveling off a bit, and so like I had prices I was working with, and I was like, okay, I think we can do this. And then like the price of wood actually went down for a bit, and I think now it's kind of like stable.
Yeah.
So like I got the pricing when it was kind of like at its peak. So like that's where we kind of figured out how to do it.
Yeah, so just hedge your bets a bit.
And then obviously you kind of like adapt.
And then your BoxThrone, which is bulky and heavy.
Yes.
Have you had to adjust pricing to accommodate the increased shipping rates around the world now, or?
Yeah, because the thing is, I think it's huge, right? It's like it's furniture. You're shipping furniture. Yeah, like we had to increase prices. Also, the Trump tariffs. You know, like the 20%, 25% tariffs you get in going to the U.S.
Yep.
I've heard that it started to apply to some board game stuff. I'm not fully sure. Like my friends and stuff tell me that it hasn't yet, but I saw someone on a group that said it had. But anyway, so like to 80% of products that go into the US, you have to pay like a 15 to 25% tariff on it now. And so so all my stuff's got like a 25% tariff on it. So yeah, I had to put the prices up basically by 25%.
Yeah.
So yeah, to offset it.
So
I actually think it did even less, like 20%.
If there's one thing you could advise, so people looking to get into Kickstarter, you've done this is your third campaign now, you're doing incredible. What's something a piece of advice you'd give to others looking to get into Kickstarter? What's something they should really, really focus on kind of coming in?
Yeah, I think I just hate saying the old tired cliches and stuff like that, but you need to build your audience before you launch, right? I think that's definitely the biggest one.
Yeah.
And I see such like good ideas on there, which fund like $3,000. And it's just like if they had just taken the time to build up an email list and do that and understand how ads work and all that kind of stuff, that like they would have like made 10 times what they did.
Yeah.
So like anyone who's getting into Kickstarter, yeah, for sure, building the audience list. And then I think like the key as well is that you have to be willing to spend money. You have to be willing to spend lots and lots of money. Like think about how much you want to fund in the end. Like say you want to have $100,000 project, you got to be willing to spend at least like $10,000, $15,000 up front. You know, even $20,000 on like on the marketing and the graphic design, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like I see a lot of people who like will maybe try and do it themselves, try and do the design themselves, or like they just don't spend the money to build up email lists and stuff like that. And it's like a business, right? It's like it's
not cheap.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's not like necessarily a hobby thing. Like it is like we are pursuing our passions and our joys and stuff like that, but there is a business aspect to it, and you got to be willing to put in an investment. With BoxThrone, like I honestly didn't think it would fund more than 150,000. That was my goal, 150,000 of it. So I put in like $20,000 that I've been saving into it to do all this stuff. You know, like because there's like furniture prototypes that are not cheap, right?
No.
And so like so you got to be willing to take a jump and take a risk and do it. And just don't be afraid to spend money on ads as well.
I think the other currency too that people often don't really pay attention to is time.
Yeah.
Right. There's a lot of time you have to invest in doing a campaign. A lot, absolutely. Right? They're setting up the game, but then that's only a fraction of the time investment. Then getting ready for the campaign itself, then running the campaign, and then post-campaign is just an immense amount of time that you have to invest. In addition to that kind of financial investment, as you said. And I think people can get in not necessarily having to spend a lot of money, but you just have to set your expectations, right? So if you expect to hit $100,000 or higher, well, there's going to take some financial investment to get there. If your goal is like 5 to 10,000, you can probably do that a lot cheaper, right? And you can kind of bootstrap it. So it's just kind of setting those kind of numbers to kind of fit what the outcome is that you expect. So
definitely.
What's next on deck for you? I mean, you're a serial inventor, an entrepreneur. What's the next thing that you got coming on Kickstarter? What can people look for?
Yeah, I mean, got a lot of projects. Got a lot. We're thinking about doing one of those. I got a cooler array of stickers for the dry erase things. Yeah. We had Finger of Destiny that we're pushing to next year, so we're going to do that at some point. But the big one that I'm working on right now, I'm working on a table. Actually, doing a $379 board game table.
Wow!
And it's good. And it's good. It has like a 3 millimeter movements.
Would this be like a topper that you would anchor onto another table, or is this like a full
No,
table?
It's a full real table because we're made out of metal, like the BoxThrone material. Yeah. So it's like we are able to kind of like minimize the weight and shipping and all this kind of stuff. It's a sturdy table. It looks good. The attachments are all like plastic and like not expensive. Like you can actually fit token Sesame, you can slot it into the sides and stuff like that.
Oh, that's cool.
So like it's like a budget table that looks good, and the topper is beautiful. Like it's the topper is it's like rubber wood, but we got this. It's actually like it listed on the Chinese Stock Exchange. It's a huge wood manufacturer. It makes like a lot of designer furniture. So we're working with them. My friend was able to connect me to them. And so like so like the toppers are like beautiful, like it looks like ebony and it's dark woods and stuff like that. And then so like the topper will be like a few $100, but like the base table itself that comes with like the neoprene mat, and it's like it's like a full size table. Like it's like the same size as like the Wormwood modular table medium. So I think it's like a 3 foot by 5 foot kind of thing. So that's what I'm working on right now. And so we're probably gonna launch that in like February, I'm thinking.
Wow, that's quick.
Yeah. Like I'm actually gonna go visit like the final prototype on Thursday.
Wow.
And so I got to the guy who the artist of Gloomhaven.
Yeah.
Like Alexander Illichev, right? He designed a bunch of playmats for me as well.
Oh, that's cool.
So we have like I have like a thematic playmat, collection that's got like ice and water and trees and all this kind of stuff. So like, I think we're pretty fun.
Oh, that's fantastic. We'll have to get you back on the podcast when you're ready to launch that. That sounds exciting.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Well, Dan, I know you're a busy guy. I want to thank you for your time. I know it's mid campaign can be a crazy time, so I do thank you for that, and I wish you all the best with Lax Racks. For people that are listening or watching, if you want to check out this Kickstarter campaign, just simply go to Kickstarter and search for Lax Racks, LAX RAX. Or you can click on the link in our show notes, and that'll take you straight there. Dan, you take care. Enjoy the rest of your day, my friend. You take care.
Thanks a lot, James. All right.
This has been an episode of the Board Game Binge podcast, hosted by James Staley, produced by James Staley and Mike Bruner, with original music by Nick Smith. If you would like to watch these interviews live, simply join the Facebook group Board Game Binge, and you'll get access to live interviews, giveaways, and interesting board game content from across the industry. I can't wait for you to join us. See you next time.